Hey, I'm going to call the meeting to order. Good evening, everybody. Sorry for the difficulty getting here. We're going to start off just kind of work our way through the agenda as efficiently as we can. Approval of minutes is actually not, we're not going to have any minutes to approve because we don't have a quorum for any of the various meetings that are still pending approval. So we are going to jump right ahead to new business, and so I want to start with 229 Spring Street. This is item A, Planning Board 13/2024 and BAR 29/2024. Just want to see if we have a just someone from the applicant's team here to present, and I don't know if this is JB, right? So if he's not, is there anybody on? No.
There's no one. Do we want to tap dance for a minute? We can call roll.
We can call roll.
We can.
Do that. I know. I'm like going right in. It feels strangely quiet.
Would you folks remind us what application you're here for?
I think we're third on the list.
What is your?
25 gates.
Okay.
25 gates.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
All right.
5 Sherman.
So if we don't have anybody else joining us, we'll start with your applications. We can do a quick attendance. That makes sense.
Bill Maria. Hi. Here.
Or here.
Carla Elia. Here. Holly Thurston. Here. Michael Aronson. Here. And Chair Roy.
Here. All right. So we have 5. We have a quorum. Okay. So I guess we'll hold off on 229 Spring until applicant team arrives. 38 Broadway. There's nobody in the attendees list for
Just
that.
our building inspector.
All right, so Joseph is not here for that. Okay, so then 25 gates. It sounds like we have the applicant for 20. Are you waiting for anybody else to help present? You guys are gonna, okay, so then I am going to call up 25 gates. This is BAR 31/2024. And this is a BAR application for the addition to a single family home. So let's get the drawings up here. And are you guys, you want to kind of come up and to the podium if you want, introduce yourselves as the applicant. If you want, you can just give us a very kind of.
Yeah, it's a real basic additions 24 by 24. It's gonna attach to the single family house that we've been in for 22 years.
Sir, I'm sorry, your name and residential
Oh, it's
address?
Bruce Smith,
Thank you.
25 Gates Avenue.
Thank you, Bruce.
Okay, can we go maybe, Maddie, can we go through the drawings here? That's the site plan, I guess. Okay,
I mean, I can answer any questions, but I don't think it's very down packed. I mean, it's really simple.
maybe we can work on the elevations, yeah.
That's the front.
I think this is the one where I think the existing, he drew a very clear demising line between the existing and the proposed, which I thought was helpful. So that the vinyl half round siding on that kind of the gable end, that's gonna match the color of
Yeah, everything's gonna blend right in. It's gonna look like it was there for a long time.
All right, because it said, I know the note, there's the vinyl siding, the horizontal, so all of that will be the same color.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, there's no.
All right, and that's matching what's currently there. Can we work our way just through the various? All right, so those windows are those are matching the kind of
Yeah,
divided lights on the original house.
yeah. It's the back.
And the deck there's the deck off the end, that material is that just a white wood, white PVC?
It's wood. We already have a really big deck that's on the existing house, and we're gonna blend it in. So it's for my mother-in-law, and she's gonna be able to come out of those left doors and go right into our house from the outside, but we also have an interior, a slider, where she can come right into our dining room from her living space.
Gotcha. All right, those construction sections. And maybe we look at the site photos.
So is this an accessory apartment or is it a living space for your mother-in-law?
Yeah, it's for Diane's mom. She lives in Long Island right now, but she's got dementia. We're gonna move right to our house. So see where on the left where the fence is, and those three windows, that's where the addition gets attached to, right there. So those windows come out, one extra window will come closer to the street for light. And it's pretty standard. That's the existing house as it is, and like I said, that big deck is gonna now join her deck.
Got it. So the decking where we saw those.
It's all regular
balusters would
wood.
just be, okay.
Yeah.
like pressure treated or.
Yeah,
Okay. So that deck kind of extends, I guess, on that.
yeah, the bottom right shot, so
Yeah.
where that arborvitae's is, if you go to the right, that's where the addition will be, to the
Okay.
right of that arborvitae's.
Makes sense.
So everything will blend right in, it'll look like it's, see the addition, that addition on the left was done in 1988. So it'll feel like a similar wing. So
Got
that
it.
when you're looking at it,
So you have the original house in the center and then you'll. have
yeah,
these kinds
the
of-
original house is 100 years old.
Can we go back just to the street view? So I guess there's no real head-on view where you can see both of
Can you
them.
do Google Maps?
Yeah,
It would be
we can do that.
helpful to see the neighborhood context.
We're at the end of Gates and where it meets Brook. That identification's actually.
Is this you?
That's our house.
Oh, well, that's not helpful at all.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, that's a little.
There you go.
Yeah,
Oh, okay, but it is actually
know,
helpful.
so-
right, so
here.
it's the same as the photo was, right? Yeah, that area. where
Got
the-
it. So that's the reason you don't have the head-on view is because you really don't have the head-on view. With the,
That's a really old photo too, so it's not as current.
understood.
All right, it looks different. So.
There's the same amount of foliage in the front or?
Yeah, a little less, actually. It's cut down. That was when it's extremely crazy. And me, the landscaper, didn't get to it that day supposedly, so. But yeah, that's, see, it says Brook Place, but it's really Gates Avenue.
Got it. Any board members' questions?
It's pretty straightforward.
Can I have a motion to open a public hearing?
Maria, motion to open the public hearing.
Carly, do you second the motion?
Any objections? There are none. We are now in a public hearing. I see we do not have any, we do have one. If you're online and are here to speak to this application, you can use the hand raise function on Zoom. I do not see anybody. Is there anybody here who's here to speak to this application? Don't see anybody here. Can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
Bill Maria, motion to close the public hearing.
Michael Aronson, second.
Really, any conditions? It looks like this was all, I think, clearly documented. The deck will match what's existing there. I don't know if that was super clear in the drawing. We could have that as one condition.
Mhm.
Other than that, we're pretty straightforward. Can I have a motion to approve?
Michael Aronson, motion to approve the action.
Bill Maria, second.
And we'll do a roll call, yeah.
All right. Holly Thurston. Yes.
Yep,
Yes.
if you want to.
you.
If you wish to approve it.
Michael Aronson.
Yes.
Aye.
Carla Elliott. Hi. Bill Maria.
Aye.
And Chair Roy.
Aye. Very good. Motion carries. So, you'll need to wait now for a building permit.
Right.
Yeah, this is approval of the PAR portion of your application.
Right. Thank
Right.
you, folks.
Thank you.
Safe on the way back to the car.
Same to you.
Thank you. Happy holidays.
You
Thank
too.
you.
Thanks.
The
Would be-
decking
Should
meeting.
we have said that?
It, well, we stated before, so that'll be in the minutes and in the, yeah, agreed. Okay, so I guess we still don't have anybody here for, 229 Spring.
Is that you?
Right?
Yes, that's you?
Yes, I will.
Oh, here's JB.
And there's David. Okay, so we can go back to the top of the agenda.
You made it. We're all about to leave.
So as JB walks in, I'm gonna call 229 Spring Street. You don't even have time to take off your coat. All right, so this is a site plan subdivision, VAR approvals, to subdivide an existing lot and construct and use an old family home. So once JB catches his breath, takes off his coat, we'll, you can just walk us through, the, the different components of this project, and then, we'll work through some comments.
Okay. All right, so.
Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you.
Did you have a nice walk?
Yeah.
Beautiful weather.
This is nice out there. At least it's not raining.
Or like 20 degrees.
No, yes.
Easy.
All right, so this is a, good evening.
We're all just running right.
A oversized property in the corner of Madison and Spring Street. And to give you a better idea, if you go to the next page, Maddie. All right. So this kind of gives you the overall of the neighborhood. We felt that it was good to understand the density of the project and the size of the houses. Madison Avenue has about 15 to 16 houses. 8 of them are one family. Then you have the average size is about 6,000 square feet. So 6,300. And we're proposing 6,300 lot. If you go to the next. Actually, one more.
What's the lot minimum size in this?
7,500. This is a T-zone. So in the density, it talks about, it's two family homes. We're proposing, even though it's an undersized lot, we're proposing a one family home. So the density we feel it kind of fits with the neighborhood. This is the two family existing dwelling facing the Spring Street, that the existing home to remain. We're proposing on lot 1, 4 parking spaces. And then on lot 2, we're proposing 1,200 square feet residence with 1 parking space underneath and 2 parking spaces outside. And then we'll give you an idea of what the house is going to look like inside.
Actually, well, while we're still, sorry,
Yeah.
I might as well get some of these questions out here.
Yes.
But just, so when we're looking at these two lots, what's the total square footage of each of the,
Okay, so if you go to the zoning chart, both lots will be undersized. The two-family home will be undersized by 300 square feet, 367. The proposed lot is undersized by 1,100 square feet. Again, what we're asking for 1,100 square feet reduction, we are proposing a one-family home. And then we'll require a lot width reduction. And the other variances that would require, they're existing non-conforming. Most of them belong to lot number 1. And lot number 1, once we reduce the size of the lot, will require an impervious coverage reduction.
okay, let's walk through the rest of the project and then we'll.
Where to next?
We show a typical floor plan. And elevations.
Yeah, we can focus more on the elevations here
Yeah.
for VAR, because we're focusing on the subdivision components of this
And to be,
and then the VAR component, so
Right.
the actual house itself is less relevant.
so we show in a front with using 3 materials. 2 different materials. And as that would be the side of the house.
This is, that's rendered in the color that you're proposing in gray.
Yes.
And we're finished working our way around that.
Yeah. So be the rear and the other side elevation.
Um,
And then you're gonna see pictures of the neighborhood.
Yep.
As you can see, the neighborhood is very eclectic. There's some. The older houses you can identify right away, and then the more contemporary design.
these are all Spring Street, but what's the side street where the new house would from?
Madison,
Yeah,
Madison,
actually,
I think it is.
I don't think,
it's Madison.
yeah, I don't
Yeah,
think,
Madison.
but you, I don't know if we can go.
I think it does front on
on Google.
Madison. It
Yeah,
does,
fronts on Madison, yeah.
Both of the curb cuts look like they're
Yeah.
on Madison. Yes, I'm assuming this would be a Madison. It would
Yeah, it will be a
receive,
Madison
after the
address.
subdivision, it would receive a Madison address.
I don't know if we can go on Google and.
Oh, yeah,
see
of
the-
course.
So before we do that, May, so
Yeah.
just the building that's currly on the lot that's going to be subdivided is, which one is
That's
it
the-
with the
that's that
black
one.
dot? is?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
That's 229.
And what's the property that abuts it just to the north? There's a very large lot. I can't read it, 89
I
maybe.
think that, yeah, that's the, I think it's a multi-family.
Oh, I
Build-
think that's the,
If kind of.
yeah, the Ivka house,
Yes.
that's the
Ivka
Ivka
house.
2, I forgot the address,
Yeah.
25 Spring, I think.
I believe so, yes.
That's the one from the picture, right? at the
Yes.
end?
The
Uh,
one
that
on,
one.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Yes.
it,
Okay.
Mhm.
that's it right there. That's two, what does it say, 223 to 225?
Gotcha. It's got the double lot, I guess. Okay,
Was that a renovation or a tear down?
I'm not sure. It does look like a recent renovation, right?
it doesn't look like an older building.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, and I'm sorry, Phil, to give you Madison Avenue. Was more than ever a picture.
Do you want to go to Google Maps?
yeah, let's go to Google Maps. Walking towards Spring Street here.
I can't. I think Spring Street is
Down
down.
the hill, you would imagine, right?
No, that's the
Okay.
other,
Oh, that's
yeah.
it.
Oh, okay, so
The state.
that's Nelson Park.
Right.
So we get the whole neighborhood.
Helpful.
I don't know how we operated before this existed.
So this
Yeah.
is the lot,
The
right?
lot.
Yes,
That looks
I
like
believe
a-
that's a 2-family adjacent to it. Actually, I think that's a 4-family. These are more, like I said, it's very eclectic and.
The houses are pretty close to each other.
Mhm.
And so, yeah,
Yeah, the,
So
Okay.
that's, right.
now we're going back down towards, I'm confused,
Yeah,
actually.
that's the-
I think I feel like should be on the other side of Spring.
no.
Oh, no, okay,
that's
that's-
fine.
This is Spring here.
Yeah, so that's the.
That's the
Yeah,
house.
that's where's
That's the-
29.
That's
the house.
That's
There it is,
229.
okay.
That's 229, as you
And
go.
then the lot is
Go up,
immediately behind.
then that's the.
How does that curb cut shown there relate to the lot one driveway, or is it?
That is gonna be, that's gonna be where the lot 1 driveway is.
Okay, so let's actually, let's look at that.
Yeah.
I had a couple of reactions, and this is probably, overlap with some of what some of Danielle's comments. But just the driveway on lot 1 looks really large. And it then it kind of creates a kind of a weird shape in lot 2, and I know they're both non-conforming undersized. It just seemed like you were just shoving this giant driveway into the second lot. And you said, right, that there's an impervious, you need a variance. Why would you be asking for a variance when you could just have like a standard, driveway?
Okay.
Potentially adjust the lot line there too, to make the smaller lot a little bit less non-conforming. And I know it would also, but right now, lot 1 is 300 feet under.
Yeah.
And lot 2 is like 1,100 feet under.
Yes. Mhm.
Um,
I just wanted to note
Yeah.
that, you know, the code does say when you have 90-degree parking, you need a 24-foot backup aisle as well, so there you get increased service. If you have the parking spaces,
Right, but for a single, even for a two-family home, is that,
just the way it reads is
Yeah.
if you have 90-degree parking, you know,
It doesn't, yeah, it doesn't specify,
It's the
yeah,
orientation of the spaces that governs.
Correct,
the
yeah.
commercial parking lot.
which is kind of interesting because if you have a garage and you park in front of the garage, you don't require the 24 feet.
yeah.
right, but could you do like tandem parking here just because it's a two-family house, right?
Yes,
Yeah, that's, yeah.
yeah,
I think a two-family house, you do need 4 spaces, is that right?
yeah, but we can do, going along with.
Yeah, oh, you're
What's I
saying,
saying, I can do tandem in front of the,
And there is a
the
garage
one
too, right?
foundation.
Right.
Isn't there a garage already?
not on one,
No,
I don't
no,
think,
no,
just
Not
on
on
two.
one, just on two.
Oh,
Yeah, but we
Got
we can do a tandem parking in front of, lot 2, and that kind of will help us, increase the impervious areas and both.
Look, right, and lot two also looks like, you know, you're not asking for a variance in impervious area, but it's still a, like, really, really large driveway.
Yeah.
Um,
And it pinches down as well, it's 10.5 feet.
Yeah.
When you're going by the house. So
Right.
we thought the same thing, why you need those 2 spaces in the back, when you can park in the garage and then park the car like that.
Yeah,
And
that-
so I'm just trying to understand the parking requirements if you're subdividing the lot. Are the
Okay.
parking requirements split up
Yeah.
as well? So.
Each
the-
lot will have its own parking
So
requirements.
the two-family needs
Four
4
spaces.
spaces and the single-family only needs
2
2
spaces.
spaces.
But what we're suggesting is that I have 1 space inside the garage,
Mhm.
and I believe, if I'm correct, I don't know if Joe was on the line, but, the second parking space can be in front of the garage. And that would be tandem, and that's allowed, so that will kind of eliminate most of my parking in the back.
What about the parking though for? the-
or all of the parking in the back, no?
All the parking in the back, yes.
So for both buildings,
No, for 1.
okay. So I guess what I'm trying to understand is does the existing building 229 currently meet parking requirements?
Yes,
Okay, okay, great, thanks.
But what's dark gray on this drawing is not existing, right? That's,
no, that is, proposed.
and how are you is it like paved?
That's, yes,
Like
or it can be,
asphalt?
or it can be pavers, we have an,
I think it's gravel now, right? Or is this?
It looked like, yeah, it
gravel
looked
strip?
gravel in
Yeah.
in that,
Oh, man,
Well,
it is asphalt, it's asphalt.
yeah. So it's not compliant currently, or is that 4 spots?
it is kind of, ad hoc parking.
Okay, yeah, no, it's existing.
Free
Are
range.
those bollards, are those like stone bollards part
Yeah.
of, they go away as part of that, or they remain, are they shown on the site plan?
It will- And we will show those in the drawing as well.
Yeah, because they're not shown there. It's almost like they're right.
Yeah.
In the middle of some of that is.
So again, sorry to be so dense, but the gray area on the left is going to meet the parking requirements for 229. And then the gray area on the right
Yes,
is the parking and driveway for the new structure.
and currently we're discussing, reducing the amount of gray area on lot
Right,
number
right,
2.
yeah.
Right, and potentially making lot number 2 slightly larger, so that it. Right? Pushing it
Yeah.
westward.
If you make it less non-conforming, that would be
Yeah,
Right.
fantastic.
Gain 300 square feet.
Meaning a little, yeah, meaning a little bit more in the middle, right? 2 lots. I mean, it does, I mean, certainly when you're looking at that neighborhood, you know. I think we could get it more in line with what some of those other houses are, because those lots are pretty tight. I don't think. I think there's probably something workable, but it would need to be adjusted. I don't know, Danielle, is there anything we haven't covered from your memo?
Yeah, just a couple things. The first one being that this is an illicit action, so the board can do a notice of intent to be lead agency if they wish this meeting, or you can also wait till next meeting when you see revised plans. It doesn't really matter too much. Obviously, a bunch of variances are needed at this point, but the board should be comfortable with the site plan that's being sent to the ZBA before it is being sent over there. So again, probably want to wait till we see
Right,
No, it's fine.
I'm hoping that we can maybe you get this down to a single variance just for lot size and
Right.
then everything else be compliant.
Yeah,
Yeah.
try to keep the parking out of the front yard, because that triggers it as well, which is pretty tough.
Well,
I think.
And lot one, just because we have a corner lot, it'd be very difficult to,
Yeah.
to keep that on the front yard. And it's kind of existing
Yeah.
location.
Is that
Um,
considered a front yard with the way that's configured with lot one, or is that a side
Yeah,
yard?
so the frontage along Spring Street and Madison Avenue are both considered front yards that have what, 30-foot setbacks on?
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah,
yeah,
so it makes it difficult to have conforming parking because of,
Even if we put the parking perpendicular or, perpendicular, parallel to Spring Street and lot one, it's still a big parking in the front yard. So we don't have enough room.
I got it, that's fine, but if we can whittle down the number of
Yeah.
variances to what's kind of just
Definitely,
physically required based on the size.
I
of
feel
the
comfortable that we
lots.
can reduce the impervious area a lot too, and that we can manage the way to reduce the, to make lot one size.
Less, yeah.
Yeah,
Lot one will be a little bit more non-conforming, lot two will be a little bit less
Yes.
non-conforming, so
Yes.
that the average will be closer to.
yes. And again, I know it's, I don't know, but, I mean.
You've been here for 10 minutes, come on.
The, I think that our second sheet, that I do feel comfortable, planning wise that, this, what we're proposing is very, compatible to what Madison Avenue is. The lot sizes, the units,
Yeah, I'm nervous about squeezing one lot and
Yeah,
having
no,
this other
no, I
one. I think it'll look a little bit more even if they can be distributed that way. And I think from Spring Street, you're really not gonna change the read on either of these, right? Because you got that
No,
big
right.
front yard, so it's really how this reads from side, not. Okay. Danielle, was there anything else on anything else critical on your list that we should be?
we do need a preliminary plat for subdivision,
yes.
to move forward.
Yep.
Two other things, one of them, the trees that you're proposing to remove, there's probably a few small ones. They should be shown on the plan, but we're more concerned about a tree on the neighboring property that kind of, hangs over.
Which if you get rid of the spaces, if that
Yeah.
helps. them.
yeah.
Which
Oh,
does
that's
help.
great.
Our comment was to just note how the root system is going to be protected, but if you're taking away that parking,
Then, okay,
it's not gonna be necessary. And then we recommend stormwater management because of the increase of impervious surface, but Tony, I don't know, what do you
Yeah.
think?
Yes, something new like this, a new house and driveway, we're gonna make you do the 100-year storm, 24-hour storm event for that.
okay.
So that's something to think of. I just kind of split my comments up. I understand you're trying to get subdivision now. You don't want to go through all this engineering, but
It's something
stormwater,
we need to, yes,
erosion controls, grading, all that
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah. It's all by them.
Sorry, now I'm looking at this wrong again. I was looking at that tree and right above it, it says wood platform.
it's
Explain.
an existing wood platform. It
That's what
is,
it's
it
saying.
is what it is. And we will bring a picture of it. Something that I think you can see it.
Oh,
let
it looks
me
like it's
see.
torn up.
Yeah. it doesn't-
No, it's not.
It was a.
Wood.
Is
that
Maybe,
No, it's not.
maybe clarify that for us,
Yeah, yeah.
just so we can kind of understand what that is. And then there's a movable shed tucked in the back corner of lot two. And it looked like that was, or is that existing as
Oh,
well?
there it is. It's plastic.
That's also existing.
Yeah.
That doesn't really look,
No, that
Same.
probably is gonna go with the new house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
just clarify those things.
Move it to the track.
Or is it?
Or is it?
Or is that the movable shed?
Or
No, I think it's the other one, 'cause I've seen that
yeah.
It
before.
looked like it was in the right spot. in that
Yeah,
corner.
I've seen those before, the ones you buy, little, was it
Yeah, like the-
plastic?
I'm just looking for the platform.
Yeah, I'm curious about this platform now.
it's not a stage, it's not a performance space.
That's the first thing I thought of, a grass area,
Yeah.
and then a stage, maybe somebody's just kind of put on a little
Next
show.
planning board meeting.
Yeah, exactly. There'll be a use variance, actually, that'd be a new zoning board.
It's almost under that pile, I feel like.
Yeah, well, we don't need to dwell on it, but you'll give us clarification and maybe just show it being removed as part of the revised site plan. Other board member questions before we go to public hearing on this?
That house is so beautiful.
I know.
Yeah.
Actually, and speaking of that, I think it would be nice to see just a side by side, we can see what this house will look like next to the original house.
Okay.
We'd like,
Yeah.
and context is important. I know Madison is quite eclectic, but you are relating to this beautiful Victorian on Spring Street.
Okay.
Can I have a motion to open public hearing?
Michael Aronson, motion to open a public hearing.
Maria, second.
Any objections? No objections. We're now in a public hearing. Is there anybody here from the public to speak to this application? Don't see anybody. Is there anybody on Zoom? You can use the hand raise function if you'd like to speak to this application. And I don't see anybody. Can I have a motion to adjourn the public hearing on this application?
Are you gonna declare lead agency?
Tonight, we're not going to make a determination. I want to see the revisions.
Okay.
And then based on that, we would decide if it makes more sense for us or to potentially ask the zoning board, but that would be only something we can look at after we see these revisions.
Okay.
So a motion to adjourn the public hearing.
Maria, motion to adjourn the public hearing.
Charlie, need a second the motion?
Any objections? No objections, that motion carries. Motion just to, so you're clear in terms of your marching orders. You got lots of comments from
Yep.
staff and now from this board. So, okay, a motion to adjourn, this application for tonight.
Michael Aronson, motion to adjourn the application.
No, any objection? No objection, that carries. Okay, so we're gonna pick back up, with the original agenda. So we are now on item B. It is 38 Broadway, BAR 30-2024. Great, so come on up, introduce yourselves, and we will start getting everything up on the screen.
Good evening, I'm Laura. I work for the architect. This is the owner.
Very good.
So basically, it's a single family house, a 2-story.
Yeah, we can get everything. Were these the same drawings?
Yes.
Yeah, so we can actually get it up on here for you.
So yeah, 2-story house, basically adding more square footage in the second floor. What basically is being added in the second floor is a master bedroom and a master bathroom. And in the first floor, it's gonna be renovating the bathroom and the kitchen. And in respect to the outside, it's gonna match the existing siding trim. And there's like a stone siding at the bottom. If you guys look at the pictures, I can have one. And it's just gonna be matching.
So actually, could you scroll back up to the elevations? Kind of stay in those, just make sure we understand everything here. All right. And so just to be clear, I actually thought these drawings were very clearly presented, so I'm grateful for that. So you showed the demo plan, the section that'll be removed, and then I think it's kind of very clear where you're doing this. So just thank you for that. And can you just maybe speak just in this image too about the retaining wall, what change you're proposing there? Just so we can- you're just pushing that back a little bit?
Yes.
concrete wall that's just going to move back.
And that is concrete, and that's an existing wall, right? That you're
Yes.
just rebuilding. Okay. And that base is a brick?
Yeah, it's like right here, it's like a little like stone. And then like the second half of the.
Got it. And I think we actually
You want a
have,
picture?
we have the materials. There was a material list, I think, in the application as well. So maybe we can pull those up. These are the existing So that lower beige,
Yes.
portion is being removed, and this is where you're building your addition. That's the, I think there was actually a separate submission, right? The material sheet. Yep, exterior materials. Okay, so that's the stone.
It's not stone for the exterior, it's that siding, the stone looks siding.
Okay. There's the roofs and the vinyl, and all of those, actually, all of those materials are designed to match what's already in the existing
Yeah.
house. Okay. Trim color, white,
Gray.
gray.
I'm sorry, trim is white
White.
and the siding is gray.
Got it, got it. All right, board members, question?
So can we just, all of this is in the rear of the house, so none of this would be.
No,
seen
not
from the
from
front.
that face.
What is it that you'd like me to pull up?
I think, I'm just curious what it looks like from the neighboring properties, but I don't know if we can tell by looking at the rear. It looks like such a narrow lot to have access to, you know, for construction. Between the adjacent property. Well, that's how, to see that. Oh, I see, okay. Yeah. And what's at the rear of the property? Is it more residential or is it, I'm trying to visualize.
It's an empty lot.
It's an empty lot.
You could zoom out to,
Off
satellite.
of Independence. It's in the
Hmm, oh, okay, I'm trying to visualize. Oh, it's not that planet lot, is it? Remember when-
Yeah, that's what I wanted. Thank you, Google Maps.
Where
Where am I?
You're in Irvington.
Oh.
Sunny Broadway.
Thanks. Did you guys just buy this house?
No, I owned it for. My son was 36
Oh.
a year.
Oh, wow. Maybe you could put it on satellite view. Yeah, it looks like it's a vacant lot. Does the lot go all the way through to Independence, or is that a different lot that's on Independence?
It starts at the top of Independence and it's just a hill.
Okay,
So
Hmm.
I guess they've been trying to sell it. They haven't been able to, because I can imagine it'll be difficult to build on that side.
it's really steep there, yeah. Okay. That makes sense.
That's helpful, thank you.
And there's no variances needed for this application, it's all as of right with no setbacks or anything. All right. Other questions, board members? Can I have a motion to open the public hearing on this application?
Bill Maria, motion to open the public hearing.
I need a second the motion.
Any objections? No objections that we now in a public hearing. Is there anybody here from the public to speak to this application? Don't see anybody here. If there's anybody watching on Zoom, use the hand raise function. And there is nobody here doing that. So can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
All first, motion to close.
Michael Aronson, second.
Any objections? No objections there. Okay, so I think that the materials are clear, the design is clear. I don't think really any questions here, pretty straightforward. So can I have a motion to approve the application?
Bill Maria, motion to approve the application.
Michael Aronson, second.
And we will do a roll call.
Holly Person.
Aye.
Michael Aronson.
Aye.
Bill Maria.
Aye.
Carla Elliott. Aye. And Chair Roy.
Aye, very good. So the motion carries. So you guys are approved for BAR, so you'll need to just go back to, with Joe at the building department to, obviously can't start work until he issues an actual building permit.
Thank
All right.
you.
Thank you guys very much. Good luck with the project. All right, okay, so we already did item C at the top of the meeting. We're going to move down now to item D, which is 237 North Island. But this is actually an application, this is an amendment to an application that we previously granted pretty recently. So it changed to the VAR approval for the facade of the existing gas station. So welcome, kind of walk us through where your changes are and introduce yourself as well. obviously.
Sure, thank you. Joseph Thompson, architect for 237 North Island. So change is relatively minor from an architectural standpoint. The application's already gone back to the zoning board to change the use of the far left bay. I think originally the application came before the board and we were taking one bay, converting it to store. So it's 2/3 store, 1/3 garage. And after some more consideration, the owner decided they needed the entire front. So we're proposing to convert that last bay to store. So the only change architecturally is that left-hand side, the overhead door is removed. And then partially infilled with glass, partially infilled with solid wood. And so I would argue it doesn't have too much of a bearing on the overall composition. It maybe even cleans it up a little bit by removing that overhead door that's forward facing, which also alleviated some problematic interactions between cars backing out of the bay and the pump stations. So I think it actually cleans up the site nicely. The zoning board's approved the use variance to further extend the store. And we're hoping at this point to seek approval for this minor change to the facade.
So you already have the zoning board variance?
been
And just for the
Okay.
record, it's not a variance, the zoning board approved a request to change the non-conforming automotive use to the non-conforming retail use. The use variance is very different.
Okay,
Just for the
sorry.
record.
No,
This
thank
is
you.
the terminology.
We just go, I guess really this elevation doesn't change, right?
No changes.
It's just the east elevation.
Right.
Okay. Board members, any questions on this? Materially, it's the same materials that were already approved, same
No
stucco and metal panels. Um,
I'm sorry, how much does the retail space expand by this change?
The number off the top of my head, I believe is somewhere around 450 square feet
Additional,
additional.
if you, that yellow, on that plan shows the bay that was.
I see.
Prior photo shows 3 bays, I think. You only have 2 though.
The prior front has 2 bays on the left. And so the prior approval was to remove one of those bays and maintain the far left bay. And then this proposed revision would eliminate that bay, so there would be no bays fronting the street. There's a bay in the rear, no more fronting the street.
So there's the car wash bay and then one service bay all the way in the back. Right, no, I agree. I think not having that near the, the site plan is already approved, so that's not relevant, but.
I was talking about the number of pumps.
Oh, pumps, 3.
3?
Yeah, but no change.
Okay. Any other board questions? If not, we can, we have a motion to open the public hearing.
Michael Aaron's a motion to open a public hearing.
Colin Thurston, second.
Any objections? No objections. We're now in a public hearing. Is there anybody in the room to speak in that question? Don't see anybody in the room. Is there anybody on Zoom? There is literally nobody there. So there's not. Can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
There's a motion to close the public hearing.
Phil Murray is second.
Any objections? No objections. That motion carries. Super straightforward. Unless there are any other questions from the board, I think we can have an application to approve, a motion to approve the application.
Phil Murray, motion to approve the application.
Michael Aaronson, second.
And a roll call.
Okay, Bill Maria,
Aye.
Carla Elliott. Aye. Ollie Thurston.
Aye.
Michael Aaronson. Aye. And Chair Roy.
Very good. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Happy
All right.
holidays.
Thank you. All right. All right, so we're now through the new business and we are moving on to continuing business. And the first item of continuing business is 61-53 Croton Avenue. This is planning board 12/2024, VAR 28/2024. And so this is a site plan VAR conditional use for renovating 2 buildings. So I guess we can start off, let's get drawings up. Maybe it would be helpful to have, Danielle and Tony, if you want to kind of walk through your kind of comments in terms of what's changed. I think that might be a good starting point for this.
Sure.
You guys can play rock scissors.
I'll go first, it's fine. The applicant did adjust the parking in the back to make some more sense to look now, or being out on sites and the parking, if you wanna go to the second plan, I think it shows it. Yeah, so see how now it's rotated, makes a little more sense.
Just remind us what it was.
Yeah,
It was running, when I was out there looking at it. And you're looking down, it was actually up against the property line, but the actual parking lot wasn't up against the property line. And when you're looking at it, it just didn't make sense, but now its position seems like in the right spot. The one thing I will note, yeah, you did put in a proposed contour in there, but if you can give some type of spot shots, because I just wanna make sure the parking lot complies to that 5%. And you need to hold to 2% at the ADA spaces. So if you can give me shots or something that, because right now you added the two, I think it was the 202 contour. But I have no clue what it's like, what it's at the wall. So if you can add that, limits of disturbance, so we can see how much you're disturbing. You did add lights, but we need foot candles, make sure nothing's spilling over to the adjacent properties, a little more information on the lights. You did give us the time that the lights will be on, but if you add that to the plan to make it a little clearer. Yeah, grading spot shots, ADA signage for the space and no parking. And the one thing that I still don't think is addressed is the ADA accessible route. You did put the building code on there, but I believe that that refers to the inside of the structure. Because now you're gonna make this commercial space, and this is gonna be a restaurant, right?
Right, but the code, I think, and we had a discussion, hopefully we get a better answer from New York State, but we did, if you look at the code, New York State and the ADA code, it talks about feasibility. I told myself that having a spot in a location where you cannot have a wheelchair access is not practical, but the code says that even if it's not feasible to have a handicap ramp for a wheelchair, that the other type of accessibility that like somebody in crutches or seeing impaired that can that they need to, we still need to have that. If there is a 17-foot difference between that level and the entrance on the main level. So if we were talking about an accessible route or a ramp, you're talking about 250 feet of ramp, which is not feasible on this property to do that.
You're 17 feet down?
Yeah, it's got 202 and it's 217 on the first floor. I know it's yes, it's
Because we look at it like, somebody parks there, has a wheelchair, they're not going anywhere, they're going right to stairs.
right.
Is there like a basement level that you can enter into?
But then you still know, I mean, the basement level chooses storage.
Right, with a lift, I just, it's like just taking the feasibility question, like at face value. Maybe what I mean to say is, why should we just take that feasibility question at face value? You're asking for conditional use, to convert this building to legal residential. We are looking at, a kind of a very substantial site plan, and I'm trying to see like where the work is and what we're changing, and you're putting the spot in there, and it's just kind of a dead end spot. I mean, and maybe ultimately there is no feasible way to do this. I just don't feel like that's been demonstrated to us that other things haven't been tried. Or even like a walkway, like from like up the driveway, right? If you're,
But you do have there is a walkway for
I think it's just a steep
with
grade up there,
stairs, right?
yeah, with the stairs.
So what's the grade of that driveway that's going down 17 feet? Right, that's negotiating that whole.
Yeah. That's an existing.
I know that's existing, but I'm just curious what the grade is. So that must be obviously very steep. Just trying to picture.
Yeah,
it.
you're looking, yeah.
No other.
It's one of those things, it's
Yeah.
gonna be a public space, especially, I think you said something, there's gonna be a restaurant there, so you basically.
Well, restaurant, retail, whatever use it is, it's a public access, but
What's the parking calculation based on what use?
Restaurant, we use the restaurant.
Yeah.
At this point, we put a restaurant because we needed something to give a number to it. But right now, what we intend to do, is the intention is to, again, restore the building, put new windows, create the residential component. And we do understand that because the use has overlapped, it's been there for a while, that we need to have a new site plan, but that's historical, the use is not changing. Our intention right now.
I guess when I was looking at this originally too, I was like counting steps there and it's like, oh, there's like 8 steps. So maybe you could,
No, it's more than,
Yeah, and I didn't pick up on it too, because I'm thinking, oh, they're going right in, but I forget they're going in on the first floor.
right,
yeah,
And there's stairs, I think, going up to that first floor.
right. So once you're on that, maybe it was actually, I know there's some photograph, right? There's some
yeah,
photographs.
there's
of
some
the back.
photographs at the end that.
It feels like there's something wrong with this, right? Like this is what I'm trying to wrap my head around, that we're,
You can zoom in right there. We provided some drone pictures to make sure,
that's the back.
yeah. And you can see, you can see the opening. If you close in, you can see the opening. It's one level above.
So the lowest windows on that volume are what?
Storage.
That's basement cellar,
Mm-hmm.
and you're not proposing to program that space at all.
No,
Like if you were doing a restaurant, you wouldn't want like the restaurant to face there's no, that square footage is just storage.
Yeah.
That entire level.
Proposing all of it.
Right, right.
oh, but that's, yes,
In the past, I've been through this and I've had to prove not having ADA accessible routes, but I also had to put spaces close to the spot. You'd have to say there's no accessible route from point A to point B, but I'm providing a handicap and ADA loading space close to the facility.
right, that is, the location of the space, I don't know. I thought that it's the closest to the stairs and,
Yeah, but I look at it like, not just somebody like, gotcha, you know.
when you're
Sharing stuff.
just from feasibility point of view, I don't know. If you look into restore an existing structure and, you're doing the interiors, you're changing the windows, you're doing the outside, to put an elevator or to build that, you're talking about
Yeah.
$200,000.
Throwing out some solutions,
Yeah.
Yeah, and also ADA compliance, if I understand correctly, requires compliance to the maximum extent feasible.
Right.
It's a very, very broad, but a very high standard. I think you'd have to prove in terms of what you're proposing, why this is the best option, and what other options do not work. I think you have to probably spell it out for this board so they can make that determination. Yeah, they need a little more than just, I guess, to say so, you know what I mean? Like you have to demonstrate what doesn't work and why.
Financially.
Yeah.
But even financially, like these are existing buildings, right? And there's a decision that's been made to reuse these existing structures on this problematic lot. And not only that, but now asking this board to approve a conditional use in those existing structures, right? So like that's, we really need to kind of understand how that's gonna work. And if there is a resident who wants to live in this building, who is in a wheelchair, how is that gonna work? Or how does anybody get into the public spaces that you might be providing, the restaurant or?
Well, there's also the parking in the front, but that's a public park.
Right, yeah, there's street parking right now.
Yeah.
So I think that needs to be kind of better understood, and if there is any other way in this back of this building to bring people in, whether it's, even, lifts or, I don't know, I feel like this question it comes up a lot. This is like a very extreme version of it. Like it's almost like you're locked in a trap down there. I think we can talk about maybe some other components of this as well. The restoration scope of work, which I still am not sure, and I know Danielle, your memo
But we can go through, I mean, there was some graphical error, like we didn't color all that, but
Right.
all of them are.
But it's
right.
like, I want to understand the design intent. So like the graphical issues, fine. But is the intent to restucco the entire facade?
Yes,
The full,
the full, entire building,
so you're gonna remove the existing stucco back down to the, you know, to the deferring or lathe or whatever it
what
is.
we're talking about now, reinstall it, we're talking about repairing and. putting
That's very
another
different,
finish.
right? Repairing and.
But
and-
no, we're talking about new finish, a new stucco over. Not taking down all the stucco.
Has this
I
been
don't think-
founded and assessed?
I
I mean, I'm looking at these photographs and,
Well, if you look at I mean, in the rear it needs repair, but if you look at the front, I mean, it's not,
I'm not convinced that it's not anything, you know, it's, I drive by this building almost every day, right? So, you know, it's in, it's
so
in
you're
rough shape.
suggesting that we need to take the whole stucco out?
I mean, or at least give us an assessment, if you're gonna say that it's fine, right? Has anybody been up there and, you know, sounded it, right? Or probed it? What's the condition of the lab back there? If we're gonna be putting people back in this building, is it gonna be safe?
Well, okay, I mean,
Right,
I
I
don't think,
think-
I don't think that, I mean, that's not correct, those are mines, I mean, I don't think that.
I mean, you're asking us for permission to make legal residences in here as a conditional use, right? So, you know, what's the condition of that portion of the building? And, you know, we know you're gonna be doing a lot of work on the interior. You know, those soffits are gonna be fully rebuilt or repaired, right? This is like we're talking about rebuilding versus repairing. I don't know. I mean,
Well, I mean,
I do restoration for a living. I know you can't repair that, right? And, I'm very worried about what work is being done to make this place habitable. I mean, this is a BAR application. What is this gonna look like if it's just, you know, patched with a new finish coat and you can see the, you know, the buckling and the shifting of the stucco underneath it? Versus, you know, it would look like an old fixed building as opposed to something that's been properly
Well, I mean,
restored, right? And from a BAR perspective.
I'm not an expert in facade like yourself, but I mean, it looks to me like this front and the side, I mean, it's maybe the word repair or replace the corners as required, as needed.
I just don't know if this board can say if the as needed, it seems like right, you know, you're coming to us with this major, you know, project. I feel like the assessment, right, like you owe us an assessment of what's there, so that we can, you know, that you can then tell us what you're planning to do with it. I think that as needed, you know, I mean, it's, I don't even know if it's in BAR or in site plan. I feel like it's bridging both of those places. You know, it doesn't need to be a major assessment. I think it would be some, you know, pretty straightforward to do, but to give us some information and rather than,
And yeah,
Yeah.
I'm a little, I mean, when it comes to an assessment of the facade or,
you're giving us a repair scope. How can you give us a repair scope if you haven't assessed it? Yeah, you know, I mean, I'm, you know, I'm concerned about this building and the condition that it's in, and I want to make sure that, like I said, if there's a conditional use here you know, for residential use, and, you know, we need to kind of understand the condition of the building. I don't feel like that's been presented here, other than, you know, fix, repair, replace a few windows. Yeah, do you understand what I'm saying? Board members, you can, this is my 2 cents, but I don't be kind of loud on this, but.
I mean, to put on new taco, I think, and then we had to talk to the client about it, because I think this is, you know, he bought the building with the intention of repairing it, reusing it. We have a future project in hand, but from the next few years, he wants to be able to reuse this and not to have an eyesore there. So that was the intention of the project. And I'm not saying that he wants to do patchwork, but he wants to do something substantial. But we're talking about, you know, if you're talking about taking out the old stucco, I mean,
then give me an assessment that says what's there is safe,
and-
right? Yeah, I mean, so I'm not saying, I'm not telling you what to do, but I'm still, I'm asking for information, which we don't have. And it, you know,
So what kind of, I'm trying to, just want to be clear, so in the specifics, like when I come back, when you said an assessment, I mean, we're talking about report for a specialist in Stockholm or how the,
sure, I mean,
Structural integrity,
Yeah.
right? I mean, who does, like, building engineer looks at structural engineer.
an engineering report on the condition of the facade. I mean, I would imagine they might need to do some probes and say, you know, if someone's gonna say, yes, this is safe and it's not gonna delaminate and fall off and continue to get worse, just putting a finish coat over the stucco is just, well, it might make it look a little cleaner, but that's not necessarily, we're concerned about the underlying conditions there. So I think having that, an engineer report, regarding the condition of the stucco, regarding the condition with repair recommendations, right? And then you can incorporate those repair recommendations, whether those repair recommendations are, 50% replacement and overcoating, or whether it's floor replacement or whatever that is. That we have some information, something to go by that we can say as a board that, yes, this is going to be restored properly. A proper restoration scope, Makes sense? Yeah, I mean, I don't know, there's,
I agree.
kick this one pretty hard, so. Do you have any other, do you want to chime in with anything else we remember?
I mean, that was.
That was my diatribe time.
Unbelievable.
Um,
Want to get me going?
The only other thing is, we have some questions in regards to access to the storage area and garage. It's a little bit unclear, and how you're gonna handle your trash.
The trash in particular, is that
Yeah.
of the, between a couple parking spaces, or there's some parking spaces right next to it?
well, there
How's
is,
that
we created an access, it's gravel access, but somebody will be able to walk and remove, the garbage from that. It's not a truck that's gonna come and get it,
So
so.
there's no like dumpster there, or like, how is that gonna
No, but
work?
we're trying to keep that inside the,
Are those garage
Yeah.
doors?
Yeah, that building looked like it was renovated,
Yeah.
that garage building. when I was
Yeah.
out there.
On the site plan, what is the dotted area just below the parking that, in between the building and the park? Yeah, that area, what is
that's
that?
grass,
It's
landscape.
just supposed to be grass.
Yes.
Oh.
In terms of the landscaping too, while we're there, the trees you're proposing
Yeah,
tend to get very
we
large.
haven't, we
Yeah.
have no issues changing those trees to those,
Okay.
that's,
Yeah,
And we talked about the lighting, right, with your,
Lighting, yeah.
Yep.
Got 6-foot candles.
and that we have, already spoke with the client, that we have somebody doing the photometrics.
we
Again,
would like to see
oh.
some additional lighting on the sidewalk going up to the building if there is no lighting on the back of the building. So I guess either
Okay.
or,
That's. And that's, the photometrics will
right?
give us that. Again, Mr. Rodriguez, the owner of the project, he owns all the properties adjacent to it. Again, eventually, and I think, I don't know, informally, we have shown, at least I know we have shared with a consultant, we have another project coming up. And the idea, just, and he has already, when he bought the building, there were numerous issues with the building. And he already has invested a lot of money. He fixed all the roofs, he has repaired the garages in the back. And again, he's trying to,
totally get it, that's fine. What we're reviewing though, we're gonna assume this is gonna be here for, the rest of the time that I live in Austining, right? That this is gonna be, we're approving this as a forever project. And, if he does something in the future, that's great, and that would be reviewed then, but this is, there's no short-term, temporary, part-time. This is this is the same standard as any other project, regardless of what the owner may intend to do in the future.
And you always look at a property, like, even if you're,
I
you have to always look at it like he's gonna
But
sell it and someone's
everything
like-
is done in context, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
okay, so
And
that's,
we always look at properties, like, even if they own multiple, he might sell the next door, make sure.
Right.
Um, we've not gone into public hearing on this. Can I have a motion to open the public hearing? Or reopen, I guess.
Michael Aaron's a motion to reopen the public hearing.
Maria second.
Any objections? No objections. That motion carries. We're in a public hearing. Is there anybody here in the room who'd like to speak to this application? Nobody is. And is there anybody on? There is no, still nobody on. There is maybe one.
No.
All right, the last a little foggy. Maybe that was.
It was a long walk.
Yeah,
It's a
maybe
long
it was
walk.
a long walk, a long day. All right, so there's nobody here. Can I have a motion to adjourn the public hearing?
Well, there's a motion to adjourn.
Maria second.
Objections to that. The public hearing is adjourned. I think you've gotten plenty of feedback between this conversation and the memos. So you can kind of take that back and see what we can do there. Do you have any other questions for us?
No.
Okay. Can I have a motion to adjourn the agenda item, this application for tonight?
Maria, motion to adjourn the present application.
I'm in the second motion.
All right. Any objections to that? With none seen, that motion carries. Thank you very much, JB.
No problem.
Good luck on your level. All right, so we are now up to item B on new, continuing items. This is 5 Sherman Place. This is a BAR approval for a new single-family home. So the applicant is here. You guys can come on up, and I guess, Maddie, if you can put up the new submissions. So I guess, last time I think it was 2 months ago, right, that we saw you guys, we were looking at the original drawings. We asked for some more context and renderings, both in terms of material, scale, neighborhood context. So you did provide a bunch of new drawings. So, I mean, I'll make one comment just on this drawing. It's a little deceiving because it's showing 4 buildings on that lot. There's one that's under construction. Those 2 are, there's legal subdivided lots there, but there's no approved drawings for those buildings. So I guess, kind of as we're looking at this, it's really, that's not part of the context of this project. It's really just the house next door and right, that house right between the brick building and your project, and then your project. And I guess just noting that there is the triangle park that's right next door. So I don't know. I mean, I don't mind opening this up to the board. I know, Tony, you had some comments as well.
No, I didn't.
You didn't?
No,
Okay.
we didn't.
I guess we were just talking about the grade issues.
Oh, the grade.
Was that
Yeah,
Danielle?
that's
Yeah.
one of the things that we wanted to bring up, because as the lot is right now, it's totally flat. So you'd be adding grading to the lot, and then we just question if, like, from a zoning standpoint, how the height complies and if the height is being shown accurately on the plans. Because we really don't have a formal site plan with like grading and all that. It's not required for VAR, but it might be something that's helpful to see in terms of just making sure that it meets the zoning requirements for height. Because it is a relatively tall building in comparison to the surrounding homes. So that's just something for the board to consider.
If we were to like look at even take one of these photos and like, where is the existing grade? Just take your elevation there, just the top left, top right, my bad. So the existing kind of ground right now is the driveway is not down, not excavated down, right? That's on grade. And so that your cellar or basement level of the house, is that driveway?
Yeah.
So is there a plan to bring in fill to mound that up?
Yes, let me explain. First, everything, good evening, everybody. My name is Romeo, I'm from Cinema Place. So what is the situation? On the original project or the 4 properties, that's when I get that drawing from. I just insert my own, so that's why you have 2 extras. When we were on the experience of building the first property, you have to remove a lot of dirt from the new foundations. We're gonna use the same material to put around the house. And I see right now they bring everything back to place. So it's not so high as you can, it's mostly as you can see on the drawing. We don't plan to bring any more material on it. And it's as you can see on that drawing, right now. The middle one,
Right, which is
That's the
the house
property
that's
they're building
currently
right
under
now.
construction, right?
yeah. So you see the height that goes with the base of the stairs on the front door? It is there right now. And you're gonna say it's no more than 4 feet.
Above grade.
Yeah. That line is the street. And I line up with other property, with our property on the right side. So if you can expand the picture, you can see the three properties, one next to the other, they are right now. You see that the building next to the current. Yeah, that's 2 Sherman Place, or yeah, 2 Sherman Place, then it's 3 Sherman Place, and then 5 Sherman Place. I line it up as they are. And then we're gonna raise the ground, we're gonna use the same material we take up from the foundations. And I see that was more than enough for them to complete this.
Does Sherman Place slope upwards towards the park?
Kinda.
Yeah, it feels pretty,
It's a
it feels pretty
straight,
flat
but,
when you walk it.
Necessarily flat.
I'm just thinking, because 171, I think is the low spot where the culvert goes through.
Right, which is right across the street from
Yeah,
this.
yeah, I thought that's where it gets low, once you get past that, to Sherman Place. Just don't remember how it slopes off.
I think it's important that we kind of get, yeah, if we can go to the street view, that'd be helpful. I think scale is always an issue with VAR, and it's certainly an issue with these, and the height in particular. And just having clarity on that, and I don't know, is there like just a building height diagram that, and Joe, I don't know if you have anything that you want to add in on this, just in terms of how the height is calculated.
The only thing I can tell you is on the building the house that's under construction now, there was no fill brought in. It was basically to excavate it out for the foundation, and then they stockpiled it in the back. And then the soil was dispersed back into the front to create that type of elevation, the way it shows on in the pictures or in the plans that they're showing. So there was no fill brought in. I mean,
there-
the way our code reads, it just talks about the average grade, when you go by a grade on all 4 corners of the building. And you take the elevations and then you do the average, and that's basically what the average grade height is.
And that's measured on the pre-disturbance grade.
It doesn't make, I don't think the code mentions specifically that way. It's just taking elevations from whatever you're considering the grade point. It's not, it doesn't say like you have to be a certain distance or certain off the building. It's usually the average grade that you take from all sides of the building.
But you had 6 feet, I could be wrong, you'd be thinking of another 10.
Okay.
So it-
Yeah, it's almost looks like, I think, Joe, what we're looking at is like, is there a bunch of earth that's been, that's been mounded up, and now they're taking that as the grade plane. So you're like an artificial hill that's been being built, that's kind of allowing for the top of the house to be higher than, relative to the street than it would have been if they were using the grade that we see there today. I think that's kind
Right.
of.
I mean, the soil that they're dispersing that you'll see in the front is basically what's being excavated out for the actual the house, instead of taking the soil out to make the foundation and then removing it from the property. They're basically just regrading out the property after.
Maddie, when you were looking at the street view, there's actually, it almost looks like there is a little bit of a hill. Go back to there, like, we go actually to the between the property that you can't see that's being built and the brick, no, other way.
Oh.
Yeah, the old trolley building. Like where those trucks are parked.
Yeah, last
Yeah,
time, well,
it definitely does mound up a little bit. Just go a little bit further and kind of like look at it. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So there is. So that's, let's get, is that mounding? There is some mounding there.
There's already some that's there, but it's obviously when they put in the foundation and then they add that soil that they dig out for the foundation and then disperse it along the front of the property, it actually changes the grade somewhat. Not, I wouldn't say the entire grade that you're seeing is the final, finished grade level. is, you know, created completely from flat surface. There, as you see in the picture there is some grade up. But when they, with the soil that's being removed for the foundation, they place it back in there, actually elevates it even further.
Can you go further up the block and then look in? Because it doesn't seem like there's as much of that, yeah.
Like that?
No, it keeps going up all the way down. All right.
Yeah, it's a little deceiving.
I think that's what the new lot is, kind of right into there.
Right, is that
Flatter
like the
there.
curb cut? Does seem flatter. It almost looks like that curb cut goes straight back, but I guess it's just, I mean, from our board's perspective, just looking at this, now this issue has been brought to our attention. I am a little bit concerned about the overall reading this like really big frontage, and I mean, one is under construction and it's approved and that's fine, but I think it would be good just to look at. Can we go back to those, just that study, which is a very helpful study. I mean, we appreciate you putting that together. Yeah, it's big. And there's, yeah,
No, I was just gonna say and maybe it's just the renderings, or, I mean, it feels big and it feels flat and just out of context with the site. I know we're not looking at site plan, but it just seems too big for the site. Even though it may be as of right, but.
it's not, right?
It's
There
not.
was one variance.
There were front and rear yard setback
Front
variances
rear,
that
okay.
related to the front porch and the rear deck,
And not side yard variance?
not side yards.
Okay.
I believe the bulk of the house is within the building envelope.
It is.
It's just for this.
It's essentially the variance was for the front staircase because our code doesn't exempt the staircases, and
Yep.
each time that they develop, they do a plan, they make sure that it has a 30-foot setback to the building. But though it's always not considered in that is the staircase.
And I do think with this particular application, it's very important that the board consider it in light of 3 Sherman, which was approved right next door, which is substantially similar in terms of the way the grades are working out.
Yeah,
So I think any decision the board makes, you have to refer to why you are departing from that prior decision. Just because
Sure.
you did approve something that was
I
almost identical.
understood. I think also, I mean, part of what this board looks at is not making things that are too similar.
But in terms of design,
Yeah.
you know,
Right, but even this, I mean, even the siding and the mount, right? I mean, if you're kind of all of these.
yeah. But if you're gonna say that this looks too big,
Yeah,
but then you were okay with the scale of the other one,
yeah,
that wouldn't necessarily be an appropriate
That's-
finding, yeah.
sure. No, I understood.
The
And-
overall, I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just the overall square footage is similar between the two?
Yes.
If you, sorry, if you let me go into the drawing, the previous drawing, you see that line on the second line of, houses? That's the sideway of the Sherman Place. So that one's Sherman Street, that one is Park Street. As you can see, they made, the drawing, I have to collect it from original contractor. They made a drawing making a study about the heights on that street. So the house on the, across the street is higher related to the street level. And the houses on the other side of Park Street are also higher. So we're basically trying to level up the grading with those that are front and on the back of it. So the property is actually lower than the other. And the house is not higher than the other.
What's the top of these houses, your proposed house relative
20
to
feet, 28 feet. I think it's,
the
yeah,
measure from the curb?
you have
Yeah, I
the
can't
height
read
from
that.
the house on the yellow house, I think it's more than 30 or 30.
Enough one.
No, you can go down, you have the.
Yeah.
How-
Oh, thanks.
But how about the house that, you know, the house that we're reviewing? Yeah, I just want to see how that's measured.
Yeah, you go there. up there you have the heights in that drawing.
Yeah, in that drawing right below. This one.
No, the one that you pass on,
Oh, yeah, it was the side view.
The side elevation, I think, had the height.
okay, yeah. That
Yeah.
one.
I can,
I
I
can't see it.
can't read it though.
These?
Yes.
Oh, great. Okay. All right, Taryn, young eyes, what you got?
Oh, dear God.
But it's
That's
not an
from the
overall, we gotta do
So
math.
the curve is like 8 to the first floor.
8, 8, 8, and 8, 4.
Eight,
I feel like you're at 2 8s and 2 9s. Right.
I see 8, 8, 8, and then 8, 4 at the top.
34, and then plus the
Yeah,
1 foot
the
4s in the
yeah,
middle.
in the base of the house
So
is
it's actually closer
the,
to, is it not
There's
closer
the
to
garage.
37?
there's the garage. That's because that's considered the basement.
No, understood, but you're, just now if we zoom out, say that's 37, 30, call it 37 for argument's sake, right? That is still higher than. Right, it's still, because these are, we're kind of just taking the curve, and then this kind of speaks into the, that hill and that mounting, but, yeah, 34, yeah, so it's still bigger, not bigger than what's next door, right? Because what's next door is the same, is that what is that what you're saying? The
Yeah,
building that's being currently constructed
The
is.
same height.
Same height.
Well, but I would also say that's still zoning compliant, right? Because you're allowed to build up to 35 feet. So
Well,
if you have eight, that's about, say, 32 and a half, 33 feet, they're within the parameters of the zoning code.
Measured
It was
from
8 foot or
where?
9 foot,
8, 8,
Oh, those are
8 is
eights.
32 and 4.
32 foot,
Then
plus
there's inches in
the,
between.
yeah,
Yeah.
you've got another 2 foot 8 in between.
So it's 38?
no.
No, so it's not
It's not
38,
38.
it's
No,
closer
you're
to, those
counting
are
the one is
8s.
below grade.
So we said 32 foot 4 plus the 2 foot 8, which would be 35 feet exactly. From the grade, that's what Joe is saying, which is 35, that's intentional, that's gotta be. Okay, there are renderings, it's just kind of, sorry, we're talking about context, there were in situ, I think there were others, right, there were. Yeah. This is a view that currently exists from the other side of the block, right? This would be looking at it, though it doesn't really have any of the context because you can't see any of the other houses here. That house didn't exist at that time.
Mhm.
It's funny, like looking at that house in context of those cars, right? It's like scale objects. It's long. I don't know how.
It's big, it's a big, it just seems big.
There's another one, right? Is there? Oh,
Nope,
there's one
that's it.
more from the park now. My mind.
What's the square footage of this house?
Totally 2,500, I think, around 2,500.
Is it a 10-foot side yard setback in this zone?
8.
8? It's only 8.
Also, 3 Sherman was a bigger house at 2,800 square feet.
3 Sherman was bigger.
Can you just say if it's 3,500?
3,500.
I said 2,500.
25.
30, oh, 25.
I heard 35.
Yeah,
Okay.
me too.
This is
We're all here,
25 and-
I'll say. Nobody else even knows.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fisherman is bigger, many
Mm.
reasons.
Right. They're kind of similar in scale, but I guess in terms of massing, there's in materials, there are some differences.
Maybe is there a way where the
Articulation of the
mapping of the building can be reconfigured in a way where it doesn't present as large of a street view, maybe is the question to be.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
so I mean, if you look at honestly, even these images show, and maybe this is what was bothering me, is the way that 3 Sherman, kind of had that tall central mass, which was clad with one material, and then that separated it, materially from the pieces next to it. So, and here we're just looking at this siding this just kind of like really large wall of siding. So maybe, just kind of thinking about when we reviewed that other project, just many of the board members here were part of that review, not everybody here, but I think just visually, right, it feels different because of that,
In the
so,
middle, that was the rendering that the board looked at.
Yeah.
Was the middle rendering.
right.
And the owner of the five Sherman picked the site is trying to collect from the other houses around. You see the yellow house and the house across the street or side.
Right, I
Yeah.
don't, there's nothing wrong with using side, you know, we can live with that. I think that the question right now is whether having that one single material, this house is much wider and larger than those other houses and is there a way without making it look like the house next door?
Right.
To break up that, especially that
Yeah.
street facing facade so that doesn't read, so it doesn't feel quite so, so
Yeah.
big.
Even if it's rotated, but that's a big change.
Yeah, and well, right, and then with setbacks, but I mean, it might be subtle changes in how the front is masked.
Yeah.
I mean, it's funny, to go back to that elevation, if there's, I guess, is it the same as the other, just the alignment of the entrance portico with that front gable, it's like a little bit off, so like, there's a danger in making it look like the next door neighbor, which we don't want you to do. But I think that based on what you provided for us, which is what we asked for, and which has been very helpful. I think I would want you to see what you can do on that facade to make it not so flat, yeah.
Be like two-toned.
Or just more articulation, something to separate the spaces and the windows and everything sort of seems a little bit out of proportion. And I'm also curious, I'm noticing you don't have a way to get from the garage to the front of the house. There are no steps or.
Yeah, we're, sorry. Owner, yes, like the way the grading is going into those steps, he's gonna do regular, gardening, do stones, things like gravel, something like that, like something very natural.
So I'm not understanding, so
construction.
there's not a pathway from the garage to the front entrance.
Yes, there's no plan to build a pathway right now, it's just to do through the garden, like, one way with gravel on the base of the garage, all the way up to those stairs.
But if there's stone steps, I mean, that would be something that you could show us on
Yeah,
the
that
on
should
the
be,
drawings.
I can add some stone slabs, but not the stairs. He wants to go most natural as possible.
Yeah, but maybe just that could be defined on the.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can
the
add
drawings, I mean.
some slabs on the natural stone.
Or whatever.
Yeah, there's like a.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's, if you look at 3 Sherman, that's the reason why I'm bringing it up, is if you look, and I believe this was part of our discussion, we had a lot of discussion about how to get from the garage to the front of the house. This is not what was approved, or this was what was
This is.
approved?
This is
This
built
was-
already.
Okay, so I mean, as
believe.
you can see, there's a way that the owner can get from the garage up to the front door. I'm not saying that you have to do this, I'm suggesting that if there is a plan or some way, a path to the front door from the garage, that it should be shown on the plan.
Yeah, I can add some stone slab on the way that look like a stairway or like a hallway.
Yeah, I mean, I like the idea, you say you want it to look like a garden and be naturalistic. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to change that, but I would want you to show it to us. And tend to be safe and code compliant. But yeah, I'm trying to look on this one. This really, it reads on the elevation like different volumes, but they're not. So I would love to see. I'd love to see what you could look at and see what we could do to break the facade up. And we should probably go back to I don't want to spend too much time looking at this because you don't, I'm a broken record. You don't want to recreate what's over there because that's not what I want to be very clear. That's not what we're asking, but the strategy that they employed to break up the facade into different components so that it doesn't read so big is what we're asking.
Well, I can ask the owner if you recommend to add different material on the front to do some change. I can ask him what he would like to get, or if you recommend me something to add, I can.
We're not gonna make design recommendations or,
So-
yeah.
At least additional material.
Yeah, right, with the purpose of being, when you look at the building, that it doesn't, that
Right.
It's not a flat surface.
it's not a big flat surface, yeah.
Yeah.
So. You got lots of windows, you know, a couple of different roof planes, you've got, you know, the portico, you've got different pieces that are already in the volume that you can play with and use to your advantage. How you do that is kind of up to you. That make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
And in the meantime, maybe Joe can go back and just double check the height calculations and make sure that everything is clear on that front. So
Yeah.
I'm back for the next meeting, everyone have one
Right.
piece of discussion.
Yeah, exactly. I would love, that'd be a great idea.
Yeah.
And that way we can feel comfortable that all the code requirements are being met from the zoning perspective. Okay, can I have a motion from the board to reopen the public hearing?
Michael, it's a motion to reopen the public hearing.
Bill Murray, a second.
Any objections? Objections, we're now in public hearing. There is nobody in the room. I don't know if there's anybody on Zoom.
Nope.
There's not. Can I have a motion to adjourn the public hearing?
Bill Murray, a motion to adjourn. The public hearing.
All like 13 a second.
Any objections? There are none. The public hearing is adjourned. You understand what we're looking for at this point?
Yeah,
Okay,
but just to clarify, it's not only on the it's not only on the rendering, also on the drawing, right?
also on the drawings, yeah. All of the documents, and if there's any new materials, you'd want to just make sure that they're being clearly represented.
Mhm.
You know, if you have a material list and so all of those things should be very, very clearly documented.
The idea is to separate that sections of the house, so it's like not a flat one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Awesome. We have a motion to adjourn the application for May.
Bill Murray, a motion to adjourn the application.
I second the motion.
Any objections? No objections. That carries. So we'll see you back when we have those revisions. That'd be great. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Happy holidays. Yes. Okay, so we just kind of like look over our adjourned items. Anything that we should have highlighted, I don't know, and like, is there
There's a
anything,
lot here.
there's a lot on here. Is there anything that we should, I mean, 28 Park, is there any update? I don't know, Danielle, if you guys have anything,
There's no updates, 28 Park. 10 Marbles in front of the ZBA.
And 10 Marble, I can mention also, needed to go in front of the Board of Trustees for a license agreement.
okay,
Everybody might remember they had, they're looking to subdivide on the front of the parcel in the village right of way. There's like a weird little arbor and like a paved section and some decorative trees.
Yeah.
This is a client of Mr. Hernandez. They haven't, you know, they don't have a horse in the race. If we want them to take it out, they will. If they want to keep it, we will. So the board basically said, we're happy with whatever the property owner decides to do. So that license agreement is the next step for the zoning board to be comfortable moving forward.
okay, and they're lead agency, right? I saw
They
they were
declared
the-
their intent to be lead agency, they did the circulation, that's
Right.
all, the ether enrollment.
Great. 80 Main,
Still reviewing the
this is
the geotech, right?
Yeah, I think, I thought it came
Is
back.
that in their court or is that in the
They
village's
sent
court?
us something on December 2nd that I think we're still reviewing unless I missed a
I
step.
thought it something back. Oh.
Okay.
But it's been back and forth, it's moving.
Yeah.
That's all that matters for us.
Yeah.
171 Croton,
They reached out this week and said they're looking to come back. But we don't know specifically when.
okay.
Oh,
We're in touch.
Oh, yeah.
Riverwalk, waiting for more information on the,
They have the geotech memo, they have our memo, and they haven't, I don't think anything.
I have not heard
Yeah.
anything from.
heard nothing, okay.
But it's quite a lengthy memo, both of them, so imagine if they're working on it.
It'll take a little time to work through.
Absolutely.
Okay. And at the end, there's a lot of pages of Riverwalk there. Okay, awesome.
Can I just interject for a second?
Yeah, of course.
Going back to 28 Park, they are going to be submitting for January. They originally needed a zoning variance. They no longer need the zoning variance, so they're just revising their plan to come back to the BAR.
Okay, perfect, thank you. All right.
I like
so-
that Jamie raised her hand.
I know, that's like the first time anyone's raised their hand like in months, and I didn't even notice it. Sorry, Jamie. Okay, so, happy holidays, everybody. Thank you very much. It was actually a pretty efficient meeting.
Do we need a motion to adjourn?
We do,
I'll make the motion to
Go for it.
adjourn. Michael Aronson. making
I
the
like
motion.
Thursday, I second that much. All right.
right. Does anyone object?
No.
All right, awesome. Motion carries. We are adjourned. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays to everyone.
Happy holidays, everyone.
2025.
Holiday.
Thanks, Joe. Thanks, Jamie.
Thank you guys.
And everybody buddy system, okay? No more